Hello and welcome. So I had this really cool idea the other day, and it was like trying to create a artificial language within Python. I thought this would be kind of good and a break from the other videos in which we kind of explore more Python tutorials for DH projects and start kind of working with some kind of real world DH project. In this case, I think this would be interesting for people in anthropology, linguistics, etc. What we're going to do is we're going to try to use some linguistic theory and some physical placement, anatomical placement of where sounds are made to kind of create an artificial language. In my head, I think this should be something kind of sounding Ogreish, so a lot of gutturals, which is going to take place in the back of the mouth, and a lot of stops. So these harsh G's, K's sounds with some vowels thrown in. And this video is going to probably have a lot of mistakes in it. I'm going to just record it in one take. You will see the mistakes, some of the solutions to those mistakes. So what you're going to get is kind of a real life picture of trying to code something on the fly. So without further ado, let's kind of just jump right in. So I found this video on Google Images, or this image on Google Images, and it's actually for Sanskrit, but we're going to use it for our purposes because it actually illustrates kind of some of the basic theory and anatomical understanding that I have with where sounds are formed and kind of what those sounds mean and how they work in language. So what you have here is what's considered kind of the trapezoid of the mouth, where sounds are kind of formed. The trapezoid will represent vowels, so A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. But what you also have are the physical places where sounds are made. So you have labial sounds, which are formed in the lips. These are like your pas, your bas, etc. Then you have your dental sounds, which are formed with your teeth in some way, shape, or form. Usually your tongue is being placed on a specific tooth or collection of teeth. So these are your T's, your das, things like that. And then you can just kind of go up. The palatal, which is your ka, ja, things like that, and then your gutturals, which are your kas, gas, etc. So this is kind of the basic understanding that we're working with. The other thing you need to understand, because this is going to be important later, is the difference between voiced and unvoiced. So an example of a labial voiced would be a b, because it has it's engaging those vocal cords. If you put your hand on your throat, you can feel b, you can feel the vibrations. And a voiceless is going to be your pas, because pa. If you do that sound, you do not actually engage those vocal cords, and you don't really feel it. You hear the ah, but you don't hear the actual p sound. The other thing that you need to understand is the concept of stopped versus fricative. So a stop is a sound that ends with a immediate stop. It doesn't continue on. So P, B, D, E. Actually, E is not. But these are sounds that have an immediate sound, and that's where the sound ends. The fricative, on the other hand, is a sound that can continue on. So E, A, I, uh, etc. Ooh, it can just continue on. It's not a stop, it's a fricative. Okay, so that's a basic understanding. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to just make a simple main.py. Wonderful. Everything's good. And I could import the strings library, but I'm going to try to do everything without importing any actual library. So if you're thinking about a language, really what you have to have is a series of kind of letters that you want to work with. And to make things easier, we're going to stick with our English letters. So let's just stick with our English letters. And like I said, I want this language to sound kind of Ogreish. First of all, it's kind of easy to work with Ogreish because I imagine there's not a whole bunch of variety of sounds. But on top of that, it's nice because you can use a smaller letter base. So let's go ahead and throw out some of these letters that are going to be that would be in an Ogreish style language. So we got P. What else do we got? B, D, E. Through all of our vowels. Let's do all of our vowels in there first. E, A, I, O, U. I don't even like I. E, A, O, U. Yeah, let's stick with those. Let's get some P's thrown in there, some D's thrown in there. You know what actually I'm going to do? I'm going to keep these separate. Those are the vowels I'm going to work with. Cons. I'm going to keep these separate like this. So P, B, D. What are some Ogreish sounds? G, M, K. That's a harsh sound. And we're going to leave the C out. We're just going to have that K represent all those hard sounds. Um, T maybe. And I think we'll work with that for right now. Kind of base our language off of this very small collection of letters. We'll add some more to it as time goes on, I'm sure. So actually, one of the things I need to introduce is the random library. I always forget how to introduce random in Python. Python random. And this is me just quickly Googling something. This one library, I never can remember for the life of me how to actually import it. And so I'm doing a quick Googling. Import random. Random int. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to do random.randint. And let's just make sure this works. I'm just going to print off this. We got to have a beginning or an end. 0 to 10. Well, it helps if you actually put in the right letter or number. Okay, cool. So that's how we get our random end. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the length of these to actually define our random end. Okay, so let's go ahead and do... I do not want to keep on... I'll leave that for right now. Okay, so we've got that. Wonderful. So I'm going to do random.random. And in the length from 0 to the length of vowels. And what that's going to do is we're going to return a number for me. So I'm just going to say number is equal to that. Wonderful. And you know what? I'm going to create a whole function just for doing this for myself. Random val equals... No, what am I doing? There we go. And it's going to do that. X equals this. And it's going to return X. So now, very simple function. So if I run rand val, I'm going to print off simply random val. And what this should do is return a number. And what this will do is go to our val list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this equal to y. And then the x is going to be equal to vowels y. And this is going to return a random number from that list. Maybe. Maybe not. String out of range. Oh, that's why. Gotta do this -1. Cool. And the reason why I had to do that is because we have, we're getting a random number between 0 and the length of vowels, which is 3. But vowels only has an index of 0, 1, 2. And so you have to add in this -1 here. Okay, great. So we're going to do the same thing for a random consonant. And what this is allowing us to do is to simply get random letters from these two sets of strings, and we can adjust these now and never have to worry about this in the future. And I'm getting over a cold, so I'm going to be coughing a little bit. All right, so we got that. Let's just make sure this works for a random consonant as well. It should, and everyone should be happy. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got our consonants, we got our vowels. Now we need to kind of start making some syllables. So the way in which a syllable works is it's simply going to be a beginning of a sound and an ending of a sound, right? So there's a crescendo, or it's just a single sound altogether, put behind kind of two guttural stops or something like that. So let's start making vowels, or syllables. So let's kind of create a function to do this. We're going to call it gen syll for generate syllable. And what this is going to do is it's going to grab, let's just create a very simple kind of single syllable. So we're going to generate a random consonant. So we're going to say letter 1 is equal to, let's say we want to have it be a random consonant. And that's going to give us a consonant. And then we want to let 2 be a random, and we're going to make this more complicated in just a second. Random val, and let 3. Let's just indent that. This is going to be very rudimentary. Gen syll, and I'm going to have to return. What do I want to do? I want to say syll is equal to let 1 plus let 2. Okay. And then I'm going to return syll. So now when I print this off, we should have a sound. So here we go. We have mo, M-O. Wonderful. All right, so let's now try to make some kind of a word with this basic structure. So what I can do is start bringing together a multi-syllable word. But let's just do this just for fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a word that has 3 syllables. So syll 1, let's have a word generator. Word gen. And we're going to have this actually pass in an argument. And this is going to be number of syllables for the word. So this is going to allow us to kind of create words of various syllable length. So what we're going to do is create a loop for I in range num syll. Why is this not turning blue? Not entirely sure. All right, so for I in range num syll, we want to get a syll which is equal to gen syll. There we go. And we're going to have list sylls is equal to an empty list. And then what we're going to do is list sylls dot append. So we're going to append that list. We're going to append it with a syll. And then what we're going to do is we are going to say our word is equal to that dot join list sylls. And what we should be able to do now is to create a print word gen, and let's try to pass in a 2-syllable word. And we get none. That's funny. Oh, that's why. In range length. There we go. Maybe not. Let's see. So we got word gen, list sylls, generate syllable. Okay, it's going to be returning the syllable. List sylls dot append syl. Oh, here's why. Return word. Object int has no length. So I was right before. I wasn't thinking. This makes more sense. Now we should have it. Ta-da! So there's our first word, ta-da. All right, cool. Let's try a 3-syllable word. And right now this isn't complicated. Piqueta. So we've got kind of things that are sounding like actual words. They don't exactly sound Ogreish to me. We're going to make some adjustments, though, to make that kind of work better. So let's just keep on generating. Bepego. Gakago. Badepa. This is sounding not as guttural as I would like. So what I'm going to do now is introduce some randomness to this. So if you can tell down here, everything is very systematic. It's consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. That's how we're generating our syllable. But let's make this a little bit more interesting. So what we're going to do for our syllable is we're going to generate a random set of numbers. So let's do that. Let's get a, so number, and that's going to be equal to random.rand, and we're going to set that equal to 0 to 2. What it's going to do is it's going to give us a randomness to our syllable. And it's going to allow us to kind of have much more flexibility, so we'll have longer vowels in between, etc. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use that variable we've created, and we're going to say if If num let is, we don't want to have 0 because we always want to have at least 2, and we always want to have up to 4 maybe. We always have to have 2 letters to have a syllable, and we need to have, we can have 4. So if numlet is equal to 2, then we probably want to stick with this kind of structure right here. And we're going to do syllable is equal to that so we can store this variable outside of our loop. Okay, and let's pass that in. Okay, if, however, numlet is equal to 3, now we have to have 3 of these. So let's pass that in. Let 1, let 2, let 3, and we're going to have a syllable that's going to need to be a combination of all 3 of these. Let 3. So what we want to do now is kind of give some randomness to this. And so in a 2-letter syllable, we do want to have a consonant and then a vowel. But in a 3-letter one, we want to add some extra panache to it. So we're going to have it be like this. So we're going to stick with that structure. And then we're going to add in some randomness here. So this is going to change the 3rd letter, which is going to allow us to have 2 consonants in a row sometimes, or 2 vowels in a row. And we'll see how that looks. So let's get another random end. So let 2 is going to be equal to random.randend, and we're going to have that equal to 0 or 1. If num let 2 is equal to 0, then we want this to happen. Don't need that. If num let 2 is equal to 1, we want let 3 to be a consonant. So let's kind of just work with this for right now and get rid of that and just randomize this and see if this sounds a bit more natural. Oh, there we go. Gotta fix these. There we go. Nope. There we go. Okay, Temtetka. All right, that's looking a little bit more random now. Now we have 2 consonants kind of back to back. So that's the word that was generated there, a 3-syllable word. Let's generate a just simple 2-syllable word. Why am I getting errors all of a sudden now? Oh, I accidentally copied and pasted it up there. Okay. Okay, so now we have another word here, puepa. So now we can start kind of working with this. I think I'm going to just leave this amount of randomness kind of in here right now. We have a way to create words. Now that we have a way to create words, we can start kind of creating a language, a very basic one. What we're going to have is a greeting. We're going to do a couple different greetings. We're going to do greeting 1 is equal to, we're going to say word gen, and greeting 1 I want to be very simple, just a single syllable greeting. Is going to be word gen. We're going to do this, but we're going to do it twice. So what I want to do is have that equal to space, and then this is going to be another word gen 1. We're going to just stick with, I'm not using F commands or F strings right now. We're going to stick with that. So let's see how this works. We're going to print off greeting 1. All right, bet. Wonderful. Let's print off greeting 2. This should give us our 2 different greetings. That way you have a little bit of randomness. Me and papo. Cool. All right, so now what we need to have, that's kind of your greetings, like hello, hi, how are you, things like that. So Now we need some names for our people. So we're going to do word gen. We're going to do a 2-syllable name for the first person. And let's get interesting. Let's give the person number 2 3-syllable name. It's going to be a little bit more complicated. All right. Now that we have that, we're going to need to kind of start structuring some kind of a verb system. So maybe conditional, or not conditional. What's the word I'm looking for? Being is equal to going to be word gen. And we want our state of being. This is like to be. So in English is, are, etc. So we're going to have being, and we're going to make being actually conjugate. So let's break it down. All we're going to need, because we're just going to have two people talking and describing things, we're going to keep it present tense, and we're going to keep it fairly simple. So what we're going to have is state of being is actually going to be 1 syllable, but being present, let's make a conjugator. Let's make this into an actual thing. So what we're going to do, conjugation, we're going to conjugate a verb. Okay, so we're going to have nominative, which is your, not, that's declensions, I'm losing my mind. Present 1 is going to be, 1s is going to be, so present first person singular, this is I am. So this is going to be our, let's make this the actual word that's passed in. Just our, let's add a syllable. Root plus, and we're going to add in an extra syllable here. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to add in an extra, now we're going to add in an extra syllable. So this is going to create our roots. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create roots where they're consistent. So we're going to do present first person. That is going to be equal to, and we're just going to generate another word, another sound here. Gen sil. And we're going to repeat this. We're going to do first person and third person. So this is like I am, you are, it is. So this is going to return, we're going to return a tuple here. Present 1s. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these a lot simpler, because if we want to work with this in the future, having these smaller is going to be a lot nicer. So that's present first person singular, present first second person singular, and present third person singular. So now we've got our syllables. So let's just go through and make sure our conjugation thing works. So what we're going to do is we're going to want to generate our first conjugation. We're going to make this a first conjugation, and this is going to be equal to conj verb. And now we're going to print off being. Let's start conjugating being. So I always hate not having an extra space down here, so I'm just going to add that in. Okay, so let's, I always wondered, there we go. Okay, so we're going to take print off being. So this is going to be our root. Now I do want to use f strings. Okay, so root is going to be being. And now let's print off we want to print off one. Oh, I'm an idiot. Am I? What? Oh, there we go. And now I'm passing in that actual thing. So here we go. Now we have a conjugated verb. So we have the root, which is pob, which is the state of being. Pobtat is the first person singular present, and pob bob, pob goa. It's Now we actually have a verb that's conjugating. So now what we need to do, we know that that's working. So let's just go ahead and block this out. All right. So now what we need to do is we want to add in another verb. So we're going to conjugate another verb. So what do we want this conversation to be like? Maybe we should kind of start structuring that and start filling in the blanks. So we're going to have, let's make a little story, kind of a narrative to go along with this. So we're going to say, two ogres meet in a clearing. The first ogre is named name, and we're going to do dot cap. How do you capitalize? So what we're going to do is we're going to do that dot. I forget how to capitalize in Python for some reason. So Python capitalize a string. Yeah, it is capitalize. All right, let's see if that worked. So we're going to do name one. Am I not spelling capitalize right? Let's do this. Name one equals name one. Capitalize is not defined. Is that part of the string library? Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Capitalize dot. I believe that should do it. There we go. All right, wonderful. We're going to do the same thing here. The second ogre is named name 2. Okay, wonderful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start printing off a conversation between these two individuals. So we're going to say name 1 name 2. Okay. Now we're going to start kind of getting to the actual dialogue. So what we're going to say is, we are going to say, greeting 1, name 2. And then we're going to have this be name 1 name 2, greeting 2, name 2, name 1. So now they're saying hello back and forth. Now let's go ahead and name 1 is going to say, we need a word for how. Let's just do a word for good with a question mark. So we need a word for good is equal to word gen, and we're going to, usually in most languages, it's either 1 or 2 syllables. So name 1 is going to say name 2. Now we're going to do get our verb first being, let's make this actual words now. So what we're going to do is make this equal to so we got a way to conjugate the verb. We need it. This would be a lot faster if I just make a function to do this as well. So we've got a way to generate the words, conjugating that. So conjugator. You're going to pass in the root, which is going to get all of this data, and this is going to be wrapped through. We're going to take the conjs is going to be equal to pres conj. It's going to be equal to conj verb. So I'm going to pass that root in, and this is going to give me a tuple, which will then allow me to simply get all this stuff. So I'm going to say, copy all this in here. So this is going to be pres1, pr1, s. It's going to be equal to root plus conj verb 0. I'm going to repeat this a few times. 1, 2, 3, 1. And this is should give me a, let me get rid of all this. That should give me everything I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass now this information into the conjugator. We're going to pass bean in. Bean's going to go in as the root, which is then going to process it through here. And now what I'll have is a list of tuples. Oh, I have to actually. Oh, that's why. I wasn't thinking. Oh no, we want to have all these added up. We want to return PR1s, PR2s, and PR3s, all as a tuple. Present verb is not defined. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind here. Present conjugation, all right. Now this should work. Okay, wonderful. We actually have that. So now what we're going to come down here and say is we're going to say first conj, and you can adjust this later on. So we want this to be second person, and this is going to be simply we're going to say something like, are you well? Question. Now we need something for like a yes or a no. These are always going to be very simple one syllable things in most languages. We're going to have a yes. We're going to have a no. Okay. Name 2. Yes. And he's going to be polite. And he is going to say, first conj 2. Nope, we want that to be 1. 1. Are you? And now we're going to have this person simply reply with a yes. And let's see if we've actually generated something that looks like a language, or at least a conversation. This is very rudimentary stuff. Oh, what are we doing? What have you done? We have yes, we have good. What have I not done? Oh, I've added an extra. There we go. That's why. There we go. Now that should work. All right, we've got a whole conversation now. Very rudimentary, but a whole conversation. I'll paste this here. Let's scroll down. 2 ogres meet in a clearing. The first ogre is named Batba. The second ogre is named Gaidapo. Batpa raises his hand and greets Gaidapo. Batpa, ga Gaidapo. Baga Batpa. Bamektoda. Doa. Bamektoda. Doa. Basic conversation. This right here is simply asking, how are you today? Hello, Gaidapo. Hello, Batpa. How are you today? Or how are you? I am well, thank you. How are you? My point is that here we've basically created a very simple way of creating an artificial language. Now, what we've done here is we've only introduced what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. But what's really nice about this is now that you have these basic kind of functions written, you can create an entire language from scratch uh, fairly easily. Let's say though that you wanted this to sound not necessarily ogreish or orcish with all those gutturals. You want it to sound much more, let's say, elvish. We don't have to do much to actually change this. All we really need to do is kind of add in those more elvish sounds. So with elvish, you're going to have a lot more vowels. So A, E, I, O, U, I. Let's add in a Y. That's always, I think, kind of elvish. A, E, I, O, U. I got them all now. And you're going to have some of those nice S consonants. You might have a T. You might have, you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw in a couple vowels in the consonants. And I'll show you why in a second. We're going to have an L, N, Steln. I'm trying to think of all these elvish sounding letters. You don't have a lot of P's, do you? I don't think so. So we're going to add that in. And you know what? To make sure that our S's and our L's kind of end up more frequently, I'm just going to do this. Okay, now let's see what this looks like. These are two elves now. We're going to say elves. Just change this up. Elf. And I'm going to copy and paste that. All right. What did I do wrong? Oh. Let's go ahead and delete this. Now what we have is probably something that sounds much more elvish. Pula raises his hand and greets Sicil. La Sicily. Pola Pula. It's not really sounding elvish. Let's get rid of those P's. All right. Now, hopefully, what we have is something much more on the tip of the tongue, kind of labial dental. Yeo seo sel. Ne live soliel. God, that's hard to pronounce. Sanye noeto. La sanye noeto. La. So something that sounds much more labial dental-esque. Things that are happening, sounds that are happening towards the front of the mouth, and fewer sounds that are happening at the back of the mouth. But you've seen that you can just very simply adjust this by adjusting this letter scheme up here. And this is probably about 15, 20 minutes worth of thinking and work to generate really just kind of 6 words. But the nice thing is that now that you have these basic functions, you can create as many words as you like with different letter sets. But that's how you can kind of create an artificial language in Python. So thanks for listening.